We've got local football standouts playing in the Big Ten this year. Updated Minnesota and Nebraska. Plus, LLM looks for revenge in 9-man. Hot Mike starts now.
Hot Mike with Dom Izzo.
Really? Really, Dom?
No. I like what Dom's doing.
Okay.
Dom Izzo.
Jeez, come on, Dom. What do you think I am, a magician?
Yeah, I'm fired up, Dom. What else could I say?
Absolutely. It was great to get on the field, and then Dom came up to me, and I'm trying to walk away from me. I just wanted to enjoy myself out there.
Hot Mike.
Great job.
There's got to be some kind of intelligent question about something.
Coach Dom Izzo, WDAY in Fargo, North Dakota.
Can you give me a layup or something?
Hot Mike. Presented by Northwestern Mutual.
That program is second to none.
On the networks of WDAY.
You know, if it's not about sports, I find it very hard to concentrate.
Here's Dom Izzo.
Good Wednesday morning. Welcome to the Figuring Out Your Streaming edition of Hot Mike on WDAY Extra. KSFL TV, good morning, everybody in Sioux Falls. KMBN, good morning in Western South Dakota. And Inforum.com. Happy Hump Day, everybody. We've reached the middle part of the week, 20th day of August. Holy cow. Happy first day of school for those starting, I think, in Wahpeton, Castleton, Northern Cass today. Yeah, you're back, but you got, it's underway. Air conditioning hopefully working, everything good there, because we still got a couple more days of some mugginess before apparently it gets fall by the weekend, which is great for the start of football season. Welcome to the show, everybody. I am Dom, as the host of the program on a busy Wednesday morning edition of Hot Mike as we steamroll towards the first weekend of football games here in North Dakota. It gets going on Friday night. We're going to preview a couple of those coming up later on in our show today. Of course, week 0 of college football. We got plenty to talk about that today on our show. And also, as I mentioned in our show tease, that we have spent the better part of the last couple years profiling some of the great high school football talent that North Dakota has produced for guys to go on and play in the Big Ten. And now it appears some are going to get on the field this year at the University of Minnesota, at the University of Nebraska. We're going to check in on each of those schools today in anticipation of the season, because it's not hype out of North Dakota. This is hype out of the actual school saying these guys are going to play, these guys are going to help us. That alone is rather landmark news. So we're going to dive into that coming up later on in the show this morning. I mentioned Get to Know Your Streaming edition to start the program. We have figured out last week, we did the NBA new television providers for everybody. Baseball has its potentially figured out. That we'll get to that in a little bit, because it's a shakeup, and it's not necessarily all streaming. There's going to be stuff on network television as well, which is a big deal, and we'll dive into that coming up in just a few minutes. Also, much more on some Bison football scheduling. It's 2 days, 2 games scheduled. We mentioned the Vegas game on Monday. Yesterday we found out North Dakota State will be opening next season in San Antonio, Texas, to face the University of the Incarnate Word, UIW. And then the Cardinals will be coming back to Fargo in 2028. So we'll get into that coming up as well on our 2-hour tour this morning. I mentioned as well, with the Twins over the next 6 weeks, to enjoy every Joe Ryan start that he has for the rest of the year. Well, last night was not one of them. Last night actually was his worst start of the year. I guess the team that the Twins destroyed before everything went you-know-where, which was Sacramento, to face the Athletics. They actually got out to a great start. But a Matt Wallner hit played around. I'm just looking at attendance-wise as well, because we talked about this last week, that this was not going to be a well-attended series with the Oakland A's. They're still Oakland to me. He gives up a home run. Shea Langeliers hits one there for the A's to make it a 2-1 lead. You need a program to figure out who plays. This might be 2 AAA teams, honestly, playing in Minneapolis last night. That's Brett Harris with a sac fly, who later Luis Urias comes through with a base hit, makes it 4-1, all off of All-Star Joe Ryan, 12-game winner. Joe Ryan. That one laced down the right field line from Nick Kurtz for an RBI double. Again, if you guys can name more than 3 Oakland A's, congratulations. Twins got back in it with a Brooks Lee solo home run. That made it a 5-2 score in the bottom of the 4th. Ryan Jeffers is playing his 497th career game. Got that stat from Corey Provis last night with a liner. Made it a 5-3 A's lead, but it was short-lived after that. Another hit from Harris. First time I've seen him play. He had 2 RBIs last night. A's go on and beat the Twins 6-3 on a rough night for Joe Ryan. 4 innings. Shortest outing of the year. 6 hits, 5 runs. Only 2 of them were earned. Struck out 6, but takes the loss to drop to 12-6 on the year. Announced attendance last night. That's probably our biggest stat. We probably, for the rest of the year, for Twins scoreboards, we probably should put on who's actually at the game. Granted, now when they announce, but the announced attendance isn't necessarily who went to the game. That's the amount of tickets that were sold. It's not bodies that were in the stands. Now, again, reminder: at least in Minnesota, school doesn't start till after Labor Day, so you don't have that to fall back on. My internet's being slow over here. Let's see. What do we got? Where is it? Yeah, there's no way there was that many last night. 22,725 were apparently the announced attendance last night. If they got 10, that'd be impressive. It'll be a long last few weeks. Another game tonight, followed by another one tomorrow to wrap up. Then they head on the road. The bigger Minnesota sports news yesterday involved the Minnesota Lynx, who again were playing the Liberty. We talked about this, I think, in June. The schedule was so weird that the Lynx and Liberty were going to play 3 straight times after not playing at all for the first 2.5 months of the season. They played a dynamite game Saturday at Target Center, which, again, the Lynx won. They had not lost to the Liberty yet. Sabrina Ionescu had not yet shown up, frankly, in a Liberty Lynx game. You'll remember last year in Game 5 of the finals, she made one shot, 1-3 to basically win the championship for the Lynx. For the Liberty. She was dealing last night. Jonquel Jones, who was dynamite in that series as well against Minnesota, hit a 3. Ionescu with a nice dish there. Liberty were up 11 at the break. Here she drains a 3, puts New York up by 9. But here comes Minnesota. Courtney Williams knocks down the jumper, gets the Lynx within 5. Under 3 minutes to go now. Natisha Heidemann knocks down a wide-open 3. Now it's a 4-point game. Watch where Ionescu shoots this one. Almost from the logo and drains it. And the foul. 17 points. 11 assists last night. Liberty finally beat the Lynx 85-75 to get their first win over Minnesota. Avoid being swept by the Lynx this year. They're still a solid 6.5 back of Minnesota in the overall standings. I think we're aiming at a rematch here. Again, Breanna Stewart hasn't played for New York in forever either. Nafisa Collier's been out for the better part of almost 3 weeks. Good game last night. We need to have those 2 teams play again. And if it's best of 7, like it's going to be in the WNBA Finals, and let's go. Sign us up for that, because that will be dynamite. But that was from last night out in New York. Quick shout-out before we set up our show today to the Sioux Falls Little Leaguers. I know we've got plenty of people that watch us down there. Congratulations to them. They stayed alive in Williamsport, won their matchup yesterday. So they stayed alive. It was an elimination game. They won, so they're still playing. They beat a team from Washington 9-0. They will play later tonight. Again, prime time. I think the South Dakota kids have only played at night. They played their first game last week in prime time. So again tonight, they play Irmo, South Carolina. They have to win. You have to win 3 games in 3 days to get to the U.S. Championship, which is on Saturday. So you got to win last night. They did. Win again tonight, then win again Thursday, and you can play on ABC for the U.S. Championship. That gets you to the whole championship game, which is on Sunday. But shout out to those kids who, of course, they beat the team from Fargo a couple weeks ago to get to Williamsport. They're still going. School's starting soon or has already begun, and they're still playing ball out of Williamsport. Congratulations to them. All right, now to the MLB deal. And this was reported from Yahoo Sports yesterday on what we're hearing. We actually have, Eric, I sent you guys a graphic. If you can put it up when you get it, you should have it in your email, on what exactly the deal is going to be. And it's moderately convoluted here. So just to maybe piece this together as best we can. This is the deal. Apple TV, which I don't know if anybody watched Friday Night Baseball on Apple TV, is done. They actually had a contract through 2028, but there was some language that they could opt out. They're going to do that. NBC is in the baseball game now, folks. They are going to take over Sunday Night Baseball and have it apparently on Friday Night Baseball as well. So NBC, which in my youth, NBC had everything. NBC had the NFL, they had baseball, they had the NBA. And then in a stretch of 5 years, they got rid of it all. They lost the NFL to CBS. They lost the baseball contract to Fox. And then obviously they lost the NBA to ABC. And now, 25 years later, they got it all back. So that's one part of it. The next part on our graphic is MLB TV being sold to ESPN. Now, how does that affect you if you're watching it? Probably not on a day-to-day basis, but that's a huge deal. ESPN wanted to get in for the local rights of that, so they're going to control that and put it on the new ESPN app. That's the deal there. Last part on our graphic. Oh, we can bring that up again if you guys could in a second. Netflix gets the Home Run Derby. That's a big deal. Because Netflix now has said, we want in on live sports. We want event sports programming. They obviously have a deal with the NFL on Christmas Day. They've been slugging it out to try to get some other sports rights. Now they get this one in the Home Run Derby. So that's how ESPN's package has been divvied out. The postseason games that ESPN had, the wild card round that was exclusive to them, is going to NBC and to Peacock as well. I am fascinated to see a network preempt as much programming or just get rid of as much programming as NBC is about to do. Because now, if you think of it, starting next year, they'll have, in the fall, you'll have football on Sunday nights, basketball on Tuesday, baseball on Friday. I mean, that's 3 large nights of scripted programming is donezo, it appears, at NBC. And for ESPN, they're pretty much out of the baseball game, folks, which is, it's an end of an era there because ESPN's had Major League Baseball rights for as long as they've been a company. And now, at least starting next year, if this report is accurate and everything that we have heard about it, that nobody has disputed the report, that this is going to happen. So you've got now, for next year, you'll have games on NBC, TBS, Fox, and this is only a short-lived deal. It's only going to go to 2028 because that's when the Fox and Turner deals are done, and then everything's up, and then baseball's hoping they can cash in there. But if you're network television now, you want in the live sports game because that's apparently where it's like it's 1995 all over again. We got a packed show cut up for you here today. Our guest lineup is brought to you by Northwestern Mutual. Our guy Drew Trafton will be along in just a few minutes, so get his thoughts on his Grizz are going to Vegas. We'll get his thoughts on the South Dakota State-Montana game. Also with the Cats and the Bison heading that way as well, coming up in just a couple minutes. At 9:35, one of our faves, Andy DeLaBarre will join us, head coach at Lemoore Litchfield Marion. The Lobos are once again, in the eyes of everybody, the number one team in North Dakota nine-man football. They open up their season on Friday after a gut-wrenching run last year that ended in the Dakota Bowl to New Rockford Cheyenne. They've got great nine-man standout Gunnar Thielges, who's already committed to North Dakota State. We'll talk about that with Andy coming up at 9:35. Really excited about our second hour. Gaardsy's back with us. Justin Gaard from KFAN Radio in the Twin Cities, who's the Minnesota Gophers sideline reporter, will join us at 10 o'clock to give us the lowdown on everything going on with the Gophers, with Drake Lindsey taking over quarterback, and a couple of our guys that could see the field this year. Carter Menz from West Fargo Cheyenne, Riley Sunram from Kindred, that each could be playing for the Gophers as early as next Thursday when they open up against Buffalo. And then at 10:35, Sean Callahan is back with us from Husker Online. Does an unbelievable job covering Nebraska football. He messaged me actually on Monday when Nebraska's defensive coordinator, John Butler, had his preseason press conference saying West Fargo Cheyenne's Cade Pedshock is in the rotation and gonna play. And a reminder, he's a true freshman playing defensive line at Nebraska when they open up a week from tomorrow against Cincinnati. So Sean's going to give us the latest on that. We got plenty of Husker fans in our building that I'll be interested to hear what he has to say. So that's coming up at 10:35. That and a heck of a lot more here on a busy Wednesday. We're glad you're joining us. We're off and rolling. Hot Mike back after this on WDAY Extra.
The biggest Seahawks, Sounders, and Mariners fan in the FM area. It's time for Views with Drew.
All right, Drew Trafton. I got up close and personal with your Seattle Mariners this weekend since they played the Mets.
Yes, we did.
And Friday night, the Mets got up, I think 6-3, something like that. Yeah. Mariners just bashed them in on Friday. The Mets actually then won 2 of 3.
Yeah.
So I'm actually, because I gave up. I officially tweeted out Friday night that I'm done.
Yeah, I saw
I'm done
that.
with the Mets.
Yeah.
And then I've won 3 in a row since.
There you go. I mean, there's something
there you go.
To that, I guess.
If only Carlos Mendoza, the manager, could actually get through them like I did, apparently. But your club is good, man. I'm looking like, man, this guy.
Yeah,
this guy.
They got swept by the Phillies.
There's no shame in that.
No,
Philly's good.
Man, they're good. Holy cow,
Philadelphia's good.
But yeah, that was a litmus test. I think heading in, we knew all the fans were collectively on social media saying like, okay, this is how you find out if you're for real. I think the AL, people look at the AL this year and it's like, it's like it's okay. But then the NL is just full of these juggernauts, and so you have to see kind of like how would you stack up, how would that go, and they found out, which is not great. But they've got to right the ship. The only good news for the Mariners right now is Houston's been struggling right along with them. And they're still tied with New York and Boston for the wild card.
And we showed that on Monday with the AL wild card races. That's going to be dynamite.
It's 6
weeks.
And who knows who ends up where.
Yeah.
And it's still close enough in some of those division races too, where one of those teams could seemingly, if they retake their division lead, catch Detroit. And then be sitting in the second spot.
The Tigers have not played well either since the All-Star break. They've been bad, which just makes the Twins' decision even more infuriating because if they put it together, they could have actually maybe done something.
Yeah, and also it's like it feels like it's one of those years where it's going to be like a really iffy AL team making it to the series against like a juggernaut NL team and then somehow pulling it off.
Of course.
Sweeping or something. It's like, well, where did that come from? That happens in baseball.
So the big news Monday.
Yeah.
So I had got whiff of the Bison Montana. I'd heard either Montana State or Montana was going to be the opponent in Las Vegas. I didn't know of the other matchup with South Dakota State being involved, and it's going to be the Jacks and the Grizz rematch of the 24 FCS championship game in 2029 in Las Vegas.
I was really excited to hear about both of those matchups. I mean, just the quality of game that we've gotten from North Dakota State, Montana State, the last 2 or 3 rounds they've played is really fun. So that definitely, I mean, that was pretty cool. The Montana angle of it all against SDSU, I mean, it just smacks to me of like just rewarding the best fan bases in the FCS and knowing which crowds you can draw. Super easy location to get to. It was all over my social media feed. Like, so as soon as
we were talking about this yesterday. Are there direct flights like Bozeman to Vegas?
Billings has a direct flight. I think Missoula might.
Okay.
I don't know, but yeah, I mean Allegiant or Sun Country, they fly direct.
It's
going to
be crazy.
Cities.
I mean, there are going to be 20,000 Grizz fans that would go to this game. I'd anticipate.
Yeah,
right?
I would think so. I mean, I think it's far easier to get to than Frisco.
Right.
The only thing is like, or in Nashville, really. The only thing is like the time of the year. I was thinking it's like, okay, so that's. I mean, it's like right as things are getting going in a lot of people's lives. But if you make that a priority, I mean, it's no harder. So like, here's something to keep in mind, I think, with these fan bases that doesn't get talked about a lot is a lot of these fans drive 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours to go to these games on Saturdays anyway. They're saving time by taking a flight to Vegas.
That's correct.
It's like that. It probably not all that much less. It's like those are cheap flights typically.
Right.
So it's like maybe twice as much as you spend on gas to get down there. You can find a pretty decent hotel.
And you have 4 years to prepare.
4 years. It's like,
It's Labor Day weekend 2029.
I think 20,000 is very doable. Because I was thinking, I'm like, you could put, I think you could almost expect 40,000 people at least.
That's what I thought for the Bison Montana State game. Just the fact that it's Las Vegas, it's the time of year it's at, the opponent, because we talked about it leading up a couple years ago to the game at U.S. Bank Stadium. Eastern Washington just didn't bring the juice. I think location-wise, Bison fans like, well, we've been to Minneapolis before. Yeah, U.S. Bank Stadium's cool, but it just didn't have the juice. This has it because of location. Bison fans have been asking me about this for a long time once they heard about Target Field, and I had reported that Nashville was going to happen. Like, okay, what about a game in Las Vegas? I think this can, and who they're playing, I don't see either one of these teams falling off a cliff over the next couple of years. They're both going to be very, very good.
And even if they do, these fan bases show up no matter what, like in some capacity. I mean, they're always there. And I mean, it's a built-in tailgate. Like the whole city, the whole city's a built-in tailgate, which is also like kind of cool about Nashville. This upcoming, year, with the Bison fans getting a couple cracks at that, probably at least one for sure, but probably two. And that'll be a really, I think that's a built-in party as well. And so they'll have kind of some practice at, in a strip-like, fashion. How do you progress to the stadium, and in what form would you like to be in by the time you get there, and all of those things.
All about pacing oneself to eventually do it, right?
Yeah, I got to think it's going to be very, very hot there.
Yes.
So I'm just warning people now, Bison fans and my dear Montana fans, hydration.
Oh my God.
Will be very key in this environment.
We went last year, the middle of July. Great idea. It was 125 degrees both days we were there.
Yikes.
The news was great. Hey, you set a record, the hottest day in the history of the city of Las Vegas. So I was there for it. We were great. Awesome. Now, this is 6 weeks later.
Yeah.
So maybe it's not. Maybe it's 105.
Yeah. Like
you can deal
so
with
much
that,
better.
right?
Yeah, it's a dry heat, right?
Literally, it was like walking. If you just put your head in an oven, that's what it felt like.
Yeah. And I haven't been to Allegiant. I've heard
Allegiant's pretty good.
I've heard so many people say great things about it. That it's easy to get either in or out of. I can't remember.
Again, we were there on a non-game day, but there's plenty of parking. I think it's not far from the Strip either. So I mean, that's I don't know if anybody's walking again at that time of day, but it's not. You're not far off the Strip to get there. No.
Yeah, and like you said, it's got a lot of juice, and that venue itself. I mean, what it's hosted. In recent
Super Bowl's
years.
already been there.
Yeah, I mean,
Frozen Four is coming to Vegas, and then obviously the College Football National Championship is being played there.
It's a venue with panache,
and the Final Four is right after the Bison and Montana State are there, and right before the Jackson the Grizz will play.
Yeah. So it's just one of those places where it's like it feels like an epicenter of sports in America, and so that's where you want to be.
Hilarious that college sports lining up to go to Las Vegas. If you told me that 10 years ago, no way.
It was the bad place.
Yeah, it's persona non grata. You're not going there. We're not talking about it.
No professional sports.
Open arms. Come to our city.
All are welcome.
So, we got week 0.
I know.
On Saturday.
I hate the fact that I am going to be watching.
You tweeted
Portland
back
State
at me when I tweeted out the schedule of what the games we have coming up. The Word is playing on Saturday, so now that adds a little bit more significance for Bison fans because the NDSU is going to Incarnate Word next year. You met Tarleton, Portland State. That's on your radar.
I was like perusing the schedule, and I was like, I know I'm going to end up watching at least some of this game, and I hate myself for it.
That's at 3:30 Saturday.
It's like it's a holiday, It's the return.
It is,
and it feels great.
We got 2 Big Sky teams playing. Portland State 1, and then Davis and Mercer is the FCS kickoff game coming up on ESPN Saturday night.
That's a good
game.
At the rankings. You look at the expectations for both those schools coming into this season.
I'm really interested on Davis. Davis, as much as they lost, and who they're going with. I think Sam Herder reported last night they're going to start a redshirt freshman.
I saw that.
At quarterback is Davis. Each team lost a ton. Mercer lost a ton off their team that came to the quarterfinals last year. Davis fell in the quarters at USD. So on paper, really good matchup. I don't know how that's going to play out on Saturday night.
Yeah, and I think UC Davis could add a lot of intrigue to the overall FCS conversation if they have a super strong showing.
Yeah, because I want to know who the second best team is in the Big Sky.
Yeah, nobody knows.
I don't think we have right.
And there's just so much unknown about Montana. I mean, like we talked last week, no defensive starters returning.
Yeah.
Their top 4 pass catchers all gone. A new starting quarterback. There's so much new there. And UC Davis kind of in the same boat. It's like, who's that team that's going to challenge Montana State? Montana State lost a lot too.
Yes.
It's like so. Yep. There is really like very little certainty there. This is one of those years where I feel like when they did the media poll voting, it was like, well, do you go off of what the coaches are saying? It's like I don't know how much stock I want to put in what Bobby Houck has to say at Montana because he's always jazzing up that program. And he talked like yesterday. I saw this interview he did where he talked about how fast his new receivers are. He's like, it's the fastest wide receiver room I've ever seen. And I'm like, you had Junior Bergen and Mark Mariani and like all of these NFL guys in your receiver rooms at Montana. And you're saying this is the room? Like these are the guys?
Mariani was pretty quick, no?
Yeah, he's a Pro Bowler.
I was going to say he's a pretty fast guy who played wide receiver for him.
Yeah, I mean, and they're all these kick returners in the NFL.
McFeely's column is up on the uniform. Did you see the Bison uniform tease deal?
Under Armour has something special for your opener.
Troy Becker has something pretty good on Inforum on Mike's column, which is exactly as snippy as I thought it would be.
And I tend to agree with Mike about college uniforms.
Yeah.
Like I've been warming to it over time, but for a long time I was adamant about it's got to be school colors at least. You
guys, Montana's done a couple of different alternates that are pretty sweet.
Yeah, so they're starting the season with their blackout, but there was a social media video that went viral a couple weeks ago where some social media influencer, never heard of the guy, was in the college bookstore, and they were telling this guy that the team's bringing back their coppers this year.
Oh,
as a like a regular rotation.
Now that would be cool.
I would be all about that. Yeah.
Eric, can we have the Strecker conceptual that he did? If we have a second to bring it up, if people missed the end of our show yesterday, Kyle Strecker did just awesome graphic work for our show every day. So it didn't take long. So I do like. I love the asterisk on there, not the Packers helmet with a blue logo. If they go the old school route and put Snorty on there, then it's a complete 10 out of 10.
Snorty wins every time, no matter what helmet or what. I mean, that's
correct.
I mean, that's okay not bad. Too. Yeah, I mean that does definitely scream Green Bay Packers. I'm sure Eric is in love with that.
The only thing I would say is please make sure the uniform numbers are green. For the broadcasters,
can you imagine
come on
if it's like
now.
white on white
No,
with an outline?
I can't.
Like you're going to just
throw my hands up. That might be Makai Collins.
You know
I couldn't tell you.
Everybody will be in that boat. So you've got that going for you at least. It's not going to be just,
Don't have me yellow either. That's no good.
Oh, that would be,
Right?
That's almost
no
worse.
White, right. No white, no yellow. It's got to be green on there. I will freely admit.
Do you think they take that into account when they're designing? Like, do you think Under Armour was like, how's Dom Izzo going to handle this?
They don't take any broadcasters ever into account on this. I will say, people know we are your uniform helmet leader.
Yeah.
So I fully embrace it. We've done it for years. The fact that one of the teams we cover is doing it is rather large news.
Yes,
so
yeah.
I already can tell Stace's eyes are rolling to the back of his head that we're going to have to spend time on this during the pregame show for the home opener.
No.
But
it's going to be, hey, the fans are talking about it, right? That's all the justification you need.
Busy week
People
there.
are talking.
Next week, Grizz game-by-game prediction. We'll do it.
I already
all right?
have it locked in my head.
So we got
I've
predictions.
only changed it like 17 times.
The next 2 weeks we'll do that, and then the following week we'll do our annual NFL predictions, which are never go wrong. So
never.
We're
I
look
think
forward
we're
to do that.
100%.
Clearly. We have to do that. Yeah, we haven't done the fantasy football.
Yeah,
I think we're doing the draft 2 weeks from now, I want to say, because we did it
like
last
right
year.
before the
day
season
before the
starts.
season.
Yeah.
So if we get, because we'll get Scott in here and get his apology for, he finished last in the Hot Mic fantasy draft.
How dare he?
Exactly. Great stuff, bud. Thanks for coming by.
Thanks for having me.
We'll see you next week. Drew Trafton joining us each and every Wednesday. We'll break. We come back. Our guy, Andy DeLaBarre, will join us from Lemoore, Litchfield, Marion. The Lobos Revenge Tour 2025 begins on Friday. That's coming up. We come back. Welcome back, everybody. Hot Mic off and rolling here on a busy Wednesday. Guardsy, Justin Gaard, JG will join us in about a half hour. Give us the lowdown on the Gophers and a couple of North Dakota guys that could be seeing their way into the football rotation when the Gophers open up a week from Thursday against Buffalo. Even before that, we've got high school football in this state on Friday. 2 days from now, it all begins. You can call it week 0 in our state with a bunch of games, whether it's Class A or 9-man. There's no doubt who the team to beat in 9-man is in North Dakota football. At least that's what everybody thinks this upcoming year after a dynamite season last year that ended with a loss in the Dakota Bowl. I don't know if it's the revenge tour for Lemoore, Litchfield, Marion. We can ask head coach Andy DeLaBarre, who joins us, one of our favorites on this Wednesday. I know you put the season to bed. You were here in April, I believe, when we were talking about it. But how prevalent is that when you start camp about how last season ended?
Well, we've been waiting for this day since November 15th. You know, that's a bad taste in your mouth for a long time. And, you know, you go back to Credit and Rockford and the team they had. So they were tough. They were good. And they were definitely deserved the title that year. And, you know, now it's a new year and hopefully, you know, we're a new team. That we can kind of continue to build and progress and get ourselves back in that position because it's not easy. It takes a lot to get back there.
So that's something you addressed with the guys right away about, and they don't need any reminders, I imagine, right?
No, they were all there. I mean, even the freshmen that were 8th graders got to be on the sideline and just, you know, to see the disappointment, see the, you know, the work and the grit that kind of went into getting this far. And, you know, you get so close that that's a tough loss to take. So football season's long. It's going to be a long drawn out growth type of a progress. So we'll continue to improve our game plan every week and kind of sharpen our tools and hopefully get ourselves back into that position.
We had our buddy Mike Zier on the show a few weeks ago to talk about how 9-man is restructured. It's different. The regions are a little bit different. Describe that about you have familiar teams, but it's going to look a little different in 2025.
Yeah, a lot more, I think, simplified. You've got 4 regions now. You have 10 teams in each region. You play 9 games and then you get the playoffs. And so it's kind of nice to just know that's what it's going to be. You can always look at the 40 teams that will be in 9-man for the next year, and unless a team drops out, that, you know, now you're kind of set for what you're going to know you're going to see. And the non-region games aren't a factor anymore because every game's a region game, so they're all going to matter.
Hey, I was going to say, how's that change? Not necessarily mentality-wise for you, but that's different. Like, okay, there's no preseason, so to speak. It's like Friday night. This one matters. It counts.
Yeah, no, and especially your first game. That's a region game. You don't know. I mean, that's the other thing about high school football. You kind of feel like, gosh, it's a quick turnaround from when you start to that first game. But for high school kids, you don't really know how good you're going to be until you start playing games. And for most part, your scout team is usually not as good as the team you're going to see on Friday night. But a lot will be told after this Friday at about 10 o'clock as to what type of team we're going to be, what type of team everyone's going to be at that point. So we're excited to just play a game, kind of reevaluate what we're going to be, what do we need to change, how do we need to get better, and let's just keep moving forward.
We were just visiting off air. You got 25 guys out. Is that a really good number for you for what you were hoping for?
Oh yeah, that's been pretty consistent. It's been steady for us. We've had seasons where we have had 13 boys out, and we're setting up garbage cans, and coaches are on scout teams. So, we're very excited for the numbers we have. We got a good freshman class coming in that's going to bring some size. So, we're just going to keep building this program every year and just keep the same standard we've always held, and keep highlighting our athletes and just go out there and play some hard-nosed football.
When's the last time you were out there during practice during a drill?
I don't know if my hamstrings can take it anymore. I step back now. We got enough assistant coaches. We got a new. I actually get to coach. I coached one of our assistant coaches now. He's a young guy.
Wow, there you go.
So we'll get him. We'll get him on scout team if we need to.
We're watching some highlights, Andy, from last year, and obviously number 4 comes right to everybody's attention, and even more so maybe now after his announcement in the spring that he's going to go play at North Dakota State. We're talking about Gunnar Thiel. Just how different is this year? I don't know if he snuck up on anybody last year, but it ain't going to happen in 2025. How will you address that, knowing he has to have the football, but everybody's going to be looking for him?
Yeah, I mean, it's nice to know he's got that weight off his shoulders going into the season now. He can just be a kid and play football. And, Gunnar is just Gunnar. He doesn't think too much. He just plays football. And, teams are going to look at him, I know, first and foremost. But the other nice thing is we have his brother who's a junior, Colby. We have another senior, Avery Kramer, who's a very good athlete. And so, when you can throw 3 good athletes on the field in 9-man, that's a pretty good formula for success. So, yeah, we're excited for Gunnar and his season, being a senior, and then what's to come after the season's over.
I know he's a pretty mild-mannered kid. How has he handled the added attention over the last few months?
Pretty calm. He's pretty relaxed. Our tradition is I take the seniors out for breakfast after our last morning practice, and I asked the seniors, what's your plan next year? And I kind of joked. I went to Gunnar. So Gunnar, what are you going to do next year? He goes, I guess I'll play football at NDSU, he said. So he's pretty cool and calm. You don't get him too riled up.
When you see, Nate Tosted is the next North Dakota 9-man guy that could be playing early for the Bison. You got a guy, Walker Broughton, you saw up close and know exactly what he can do. Just this level, Andy, I don't know. We thought maybe linemen. I don't know about skill guys in North Dakota 9-man making the jump and having the kind of success they've had.
Yeah, I think there's a level of toughness in North Dakota, that no matter what level you are, and if you want to talk about 9-man and the small school and just the adversity you got to handle and go through, when you get to college, there's a lot of that, right? Because you're no longer the top dog, and you got to be able to handle being a little tough mentally, not just the physical side. And so there's a lot of kids that do fall through the cracks, but there's a lot of those homegrown kids that just know what work they have to put in to be successful and find a way.
All right, so one of my other favorite storylines in 9-man is sometimes the travel. You've got it right off the hop. You're playing at Hatton Northwood. That is not a little jaunt for you guys to open up on Friday.
Yeah, well, we've travel. I've always said this. Travel's not as big of a deal as it used to be. most teams have a pretty decent bus as long as the air conditioner works this time of year. You're going to be okay. And you get off a bus, you move around. It's not like you got these 40-year-old coaches going out and playing football that are all stiff. You got a bunch of young guys that, they're going to be drinking Gatorade and ready to go when they hop off that bus.
When do you get an assessment like, okay, like in game one, how good you guys might be? Is it after the game? Is it during? Like, okay, we might be what I thought. We might be better than I thought. When does that happen, that evaluation during the first game?
Man, that's a great question, Dom, because we just get into that game and it might be the opening kickoff, it might be halftime, it might be who knows. It just for sure after the game you're going to evaluate and say, okay, this is what we thought we were going to be. This is what we're going to have to become. And I think that process is ongoing. And you handle adversity with kids cramping up, and you got to throw someone in there new. And that's why I tell our kids, never not be ready, because you're going to have some point where you're going to have to be thrown into the game and you're going to have to be ready to play. So, yeah, we'll evaluate instantly, as the game goes.
Would you like another week? I'm sure you would, but is this too quick a turnaround? You started practice 2 weeks ago. Now you're going to play in a game.
Yeah, I'd say this in two ways. I'd love another week if it were, two starting groups that could practice against each other and prepare for a Friday night. Yeah. But, for us, it's kind of, you got to get into it. And I'm not saying it's a practice for us. It's a way for us to evaluate and say, okay, like you mentioned, this is the team we're going to have to be. And then you don't really, again, know that until you play that game. So, of course, I think every coach would love more practice time, but for us to really evaluate who we're going to be, I think we got to play a game.
Before I let you go and put you on the spot here, don't hate me on this. It's been 20 years since you played your last game for North Dakota State, which is crazy to say that out loud. Who is the most talented player you played with in your time at NDSU?
Man, just one guy who was just a freak that I hated blocking was Joe Mays. We'd go to fall camp and it was always good on good. And whenever it was like 42 lead and I'm playing fullback, I'm like, oh my goodness, this is gonna be fun. And he was the head buster for a reason, because he was just tough. But I mean, we had so much talent that we played with, and when you look at the talent pool NDSU pulls now, they would kick our butts. That's how good I think this program's gotten. So, we're very fortunate to play some very talented players. Jared Essler was a guy I got to play with in high school and then on into college. And, he's just a fun guy to know he's on your team and not playing against too. So, I could go on and on about all the talent we've played with.
How about the against? Was there a guy like, holy cow, this guy is better than I've ever seen?
Yeah, for me, the toughest guy I ever had to block was Chris Gokong from Cal Poly. And he went on to the NFL. Yep. He was a good player. And, another guy that played here when I was a freshman, he was a senior, was Leif Murphy. And Leif went on to play in the CFL. And, that guy is like as blue collar as they come, but he was just tough guy to go against. So, no, it was a lot of fun. We made that transition to Division I, and we got to see some pretty good talent over the years. And, even going down and playing some of those teams in Louisiana, there's some pretty good teams in the SoCon back then.
And it was unbearably hot, I have to imagine, right?
Oh yeah, it was. It was. You think it's hot here, and you get down there, and it's like there's no way to compare how hot and humid that is.
Well, that's we're getting ready. The Bison are going to play in Charleston, South Carolina, which is different. You were played in Louisiana and Texas in those days. What do you tell for the guys how do you prepare for something like that?
I know Jim Kramer is going to get those guys prepared. I remember we used to walk into our weight room, and I think he turned the heat on over the summer for us to get in, and you just get in there and just instant sweat. So I've got no doubt they're going to be prepared for whatever conditions it's going to come. But you just go play, you hydrate, you just do the normal things, and somebody's going to cramp up. It's going to happen.
It's great to see you, bud. Thanks so much for doing this. Good luck on Friday. We'll catch you down the road, okay?
Awesome. Thanks, Dom.
There he goes, Andy DeLaBarre, head coach, Lemoore Litchfield Marion. Lobos open up on Friday night against Hatton Northwood. Coverage of that coming up as we start our high school football winding road on Friday to start the 2025 season. We'll break. We come back. We'll wrap up our first hour. Big second hour plan for you college football rubes. We'll roll on a busy Wednesday of Hot Mic after this. Thanks to Andy DeLaBarre for giving us a few minutes there. That was good stuff. Getting us ready for the upcoming football season. Gets going on Friday. Real quick, couple things here before we break. Found out before the show, the Senior Bowl sent out its watch list for, they do it every year. The one thing they changed, a couple things. There's a new guy running it. Jim Nagy is gone. He's now, I believe, the general manager for Oklahoma's football program. So they got a new guy running it. Reese's is gone, which is terrible because the candy opportunities are gone. I think Panini now is sponsoring it with the trading cards is the new main sponsor. But they also shrank the watch list. It used to be 850 guys. Like we would do this every year, and there would be a ton of guys. They went down to 300, which is notable because that's way less. And they only have 5 FCS players on their watch list for this upcoming season. And the 5 that are on there, probably not too terribly surprising. One, Bryce Lance is on there from North Dakota State. Jalen Walthall's on there, who's the outstanding wide receiver from Incarnate Word. Jaden Craig, the quarterback of Harvard. You got to start paying attention to the Ivy League now, folks. They're playoff eligible. So when their games are on Friday nights, we can watch Ivy League football. Max Tomczak, who's coming to the Dome this year. He's another wide receiver from Youngstown State. And then Charles Demings is a cornerback from Stephen F. Austin. Those are the 5. 295 other guys are all FBS. There's only 5 FCS guys that are on the watch list. But notable that Bryce Lance's name is one of them. We'll break. We come back. We'll start our second hour. JG will join us. Justin Gaard from KFAN Radio in the Twin Cities to get us the lowdown on the Gophers and a couple of North Dakota guys who can be playing for Minnesota this upcoming season. That's coming up. We come back.
This is Hot Mic.
Hot Mic.
On the networks of WDAY.
WDAY.
Here's Dom Izzo.
Welcome back, everybody. Wednesday morning show rolls on. Our next hour is for you college football rubes who love Big Ten football. We got plenty so in this neck of the woods, certainly in our building, I know. We're going to chat. The Huskers coming up in about a half hour, but some Gopher football chat to start our second hour. One of our favorite guests to get him on whenever he's a busy man, especially this time of year with the Great Minnesota Get-Together start tomorrow, which means he's locked in there. Justin Gaard from KFAN Radio down in the Twin Cities joins us. Also Minnesota Golden Gophers sideline reporter for football, women's play-by-play for women's basketball. Am I missing any of the other jobs, JG? Is that everything?
Yeah, now you pretty much nailed it. Thanks for reading the bio. Great to be with you. Glad it worked out. Yeah, State Fair starts tomorrow. So,
oh boy,
summer's over. Summer's over. Once the fair hits, it's over down here. So that starts tomorrow. I weighed myself this morning for a pre-fair weigh-in. We'll report back on exactly how much weight I've gained through Labor Day.
I didn't read program password champion and initials. Should I do that too? I forgot that.
You could, although I'm in a little bit of a drought. You know, people I think are kind of wondering, is it ever going to happen again? I have 2 very dusty trophies at my desk at the Fan.
Hey, you know what?
A few years ago.
You got them, though. That's the most important thing.
They can never take it away from me.
I have to ask, we're going to get the Gophers here in a sec, but up here, the amount of anger, vitriol was readily apparent with what the Twins did. You're in it. You're down there. Is it just as much, even more so? You're on a day-to-day basis down there.
We'll be more specific. Are you talking about selling everybody at the trade deadline that made no sense?
Yeah, right.
Or the ownership saying that they're not going to sell the team after all? Because those are 2 very different but also very similar in that everybody was angry about both of those. It's been a rough run. You know, and there's been a lot of times too where, like at this point of the season, we're about to start the fair, football's about to start, where the Twins haven't been very good and people just kind of quietly let them go away into the night. And this is a very different summer in that regard, in that they're not going anywhere, but we're still talking about them a lot because the trade deadline was a complete disaster, obviously. And obviously you could talk your way into half of the trades that they made. That's 5, I think. The other 5 made no sense when they did very anti-Twins moves where you're trading away guys with team control and cheap guys and all of that. The ownership one, though, has been tough because all summer people have been saying, well, when the new owners come in, it'll be – and we have no idea who those people would have been, right, if they would have been any better, worse, or indifferent than the poll ads. But the fact that that rug kind of got pulled underneath them, I think, has taken Twins fans and Minnesota fans in general to a different level of anger and annoyance, and we'll see where it goes. I actually, Dom, have kind of zagged on it a little bit because – and who knows if I'm just too naive or too romantic about the whole thing, but a lot of times I had heard that, like, Joe Pohlad of the third-generation Pohlad actually does have interest in owning a team and making it a winner. But there's a lot of other Pohlads in that area that have a voice and have a say. And so my big follow-up would be, well, who are the new minority owners and who are the people that are selling? Because if the people that are selling are the ones that have been holding all of this back, I'm fine giving it a second.
Yep.
Now, again, people have been taking me deep on that for a week and a half, but I'm just thinking – because I can't think of any other reason why Joe wants to own the team other than he thinks he can bring it back in because they had been losing money. They're not very popular. You know, the poor broadcasters are sitting there listening to people chant sell the team while they're trying to do the live shots. I mean, I'm just thinking about what you guys do at the Fargo Dome, you know, when you sit out the chairs and you're doing the live shots and people would run behind you and say, sell the team. Not easy to do.
No.
And you had nothing to do with it. But anyway, so to answer your question, no, things have not really simmered down when it comes to negativity on the Twins.
I would you know, it's not like Mark Laurie and A-Rod when they came in and there was obviously you could feel it with the Wolves. I don't know if how much say, like you're talking about, these new partners would have in the day-to-day baseball operation. Because if that's the case, then I would be right with you. I'd be, okay, let's go if they have more say in the day-to-day baseball operation.
Right, and the problem there is that none of the Pullets have any trust. Like, you have to have some faith to say –
right.
Because that's just me thinking out loud. Like, I'm willing to see where it goes. If it's business as usual for the next 3 years, then I'm the idiot. I'm stupid. But that's the problem with going at those. They have so little equity with the fan base for what has happened the last couple of decades, really, and certainly the last 2 years when, you know, I'm sure you talked about it and saw it. I mean, Rocco Baldelli was in our studio talking about how he couldn't hear himself think when they're beating Toronto to snap the playoff streak and to win the series, and the town was absolutely on fire for Twins baseball, and their response to that was, we're going to cut the payroll, which that's what has led us to this. That was the first big decision that's led us to where they are today, where there's nobody going, nobody's interested, and it's just a lot of anger.
I know you get plenty of kidding about your love for Max Brosmer. Is he going to be the Vikings' backup quarterback here in a week and a half?
Well, here's what I'll say. They can't – I don't know how you can't keep him.
Right.
Like, I just because he's so smart. Yeah, I do get a lot of kidding. Kidding is kind, too. Yeah,
it's the best word I can think of right now.
But I always say to people, I say, if you guys saw what I saw on a day-to-day basis, and even just being on the field, watching him during the game, and then how he played, you'd feel the same way. I mean, the guy's a total stud. It's amazing to me. I was thinking about this at training camp. We were after practice one day, and he was just throwing passes to Justin Jefferson. After practice, and I'm thinking, this guy was in New Hampshire like 10 minutes ago, and now he's throwing passes to Justin. He's getting extra work in with maybe the best receiver in football. What a whirlwind for him. Backup quarterback, probably not, but I don't know how you keep him in a place where he could be exposed to have somebody take him. It was surprising to me that he wasn't drafted. I think he's one of those guys where you have to, actually be around him every day and see how he works, see his process, see how he does things, but he's played great, and I know that Kevin O'Connell liked him from his first pro day when he wasn't even working out for himself. He was just throwing to Gopher receivers and other regional people, a couple of years ago. But I hope they keep him because I just think he's a great kid. He's just an impressive young man, and I think he can be helpful even in that backup quarterback role wherever he is in the room because he is so smart. And so I'm fascinated to see what they do because, to me, I don't think they have much of a decision to make. I think they have to keep him on the roster.
I was just looking here. We're going to throw it up, the 25 Gopher football schedule. You get to go to some fantastic places this year. Autzen Stadium. You get to go to the Horseshoe, obviously, at Ohio State. I know your favorite in Kinnick. Wrigley Field is on the schedule because that's where Northwestern is going to play its game with Minnesota. Destination-wise, that's pretty – opponent-wise, that's a whole other story. Destination, that's pretty darn cool.
Yeah, I'm excited. I probably said this on your show before, but when people ask me about all the realignment stuff and what do you think about the West Coast teams coming in, I always said, well, I've been to Champaign enough. I've been to West Lafayette. No shade. Even Madison and Iowa City. Yeah. We've all been there. You Gopher fans have been there a lot, right? It's fun. And, yeah, I'm excited to see Oregon. They play Cal in the non-conference, so that's in a couple of weeks. The Wrigley Field game's obviously going to be awesome. And that's kind of the new world in the Big Ten. Yeah. You're gonna get to see all these new places. We were at the Rose Bowl last year. I think we'll be at Washington next year, which is cool. Do some sailgating up there. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Now, like you said, Friday night in Oregon, that's no picnic.
No,
that'll be interesting.
No.
That'll be fun. Saturday, I'm guessing at 11 because they always play at 11. Big noon kickoff, Ohio State. That's no picnic, but yeah, it's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it, and I'm curious to see how this team is, and they're breaking in a brand new quarterback. So who knows what's going? I know you know something about that in your parts right now. So it's going to be fun though. It's cool. I'm looking forward to it.
Are you not looking forward to a 9:30 Central kickoff at Cal? That's not ideal.
No, it's not. And what I'm not looking forward to is how I'm going to do my Gopher show on KFAN at 8 o'clock Central the next morning. I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to do that, how that's actually going to work.
Not great either.
It probably won't work. Yeah. What I learned, because I had that at USC last year, I learned I have to take a nap because about an hour before we were supposed to go to the Rose Bowl, I thought, why didn't I take a nap? Why did I drive around Southern California like a tourist? And that was poor planning on my part.
Rookie move there, JG. Rookie move.
Mm-hmm.
Give us the lowdown. What you've seen out of Drake Lindsay is the guy for the Gophers now in 2025.
Yeah, I can't wait to see him play in a real game. And when people have asked me about what I think about him, I mean, he throws the ball all over the place. He came from a straight air raid offense in high school. And so to me, it was interesting that he would want to come to a place like Minnesota that historically has run the ball a lot. But going back to Brosmer, I think we saw a year ago, like they changed their offense a little bit. They were much more throw first last year than they were running the ball. They actually didn't run the ball very well. And I always say now especially, you don't have to hand the ball over to a redshirt freshman quarterback in Big Ten college football anymore, right? Like, you could just go find somebody. If you weren't comfortable with handing the keys to your program to somebody, you could go find somebody else, right? Iowa's doing that with Gronowski, right, who you guys are very familiar with. Like, Gophers did that with Brosmer a year ago. You could go find a 22-year-old from a different level or from a Power 5 that has just been waiting for their opportunity or maybe wanted to be a starter. And I think the fact that the Gophers didn't do that and are comfortable handing it over says a lot about Drake. And, we don't get to go to very many practices. I've been to a couple, and as you know, when you go to the practices, they're not exactly going to go, here's what we're going to do. Here's all of our things, right? So, but he put up huge numbers in high school. He was a Gatorade Player of the Year in Arkansas in high school. There's people in Arkansas that are still annoyed that he's not there because he literally, as he told me, he had to walk by the University of Arkansas practice fields basically to get to his own in high school. And so there's a lot of people down there that are still mad that they, for whatever the reason, didn't recruit him. He was injured in high school, then didn't play right away. But I'd say this, they love him. And from my observations, he was literally in the back pocket of Max Brosmer last season, trying to soak up everything that he could from him. And we'll see. There's big expectations for him. I'd also remind people he's still a redshirt freshman quarterback. And we just mentioned, how's he going to look in Autzen Stadium Friday night against Oregon or Ohio State? Like, that's a big lift, as the corporate cliche goes. So, but I know they love him, and they obviously put the full court press on to get him to come here, and we'll see how he does.
How Coy Parrish played last year, there was obviously great hype. JG is the number one player in the state of Minnesota. So when Fleck gets him to stay, that's a big story. I know we talked about it when you were on last fall. Then he goes and plays like he did, which is phenomenal. And obviously the big question heading into this year is they're going to use him all over the place. My question is, how do you do that without maybe robbing Peter to pay Paul, like taking away his great play on defense if you want to use him on offense?
That's the $1 million question. Yeah. You're right. And I was just talking about this on our Pair and a Spare podcast right before I jumped on with you. We were trying to set the over-under on offensive snaps for the season. And I feel like you can give him a series or two each half, right? I don't know if he's going to be a full-time Travis Hunter, just do everything for the entire game. But to me, it makes sense to run him out there at least a series a half, right? That'd put you at 10, 12, 15 plays a game. let him play defense. He's going to be the return guy as well. Because he is just one of those guys. He's just, even at the college level, he just moves different than everybody else. Even somebody like me that doesn't have a great eye for talent, that doesn't know what I'm really looking at, you can tell when there's a guy that's just different than everybody, right? And that's who he is. That's how he is. He's one of those guys that the whole team just kind of, they know he's different too. Like the other players know that he's different. And so they're definitely, like, it's either the biggest, bummerooski ever if they don't find a way to get him to play a bunch of snaps on offense, because they've been very frontal about it. And I do know at the practices we've been to, he's been out there a lot. He has been, like, the split jersey thing is needed because he has been running out there with the offensive stuff. So it's going to be crazy. But I even go back to when he made a tackle on punt return last year before he started playing a lot. Like, the place went nuts, Tom.
Yeah.
Like, and where the announcer just said, tackle made by Coy Parrish, and the place went crazy. That's never happened in, I guess that was the 14 years I've been doing it. That's never happened before. So he's one that everybody notices for sure.
And there's a couple other coming through the high school pipeline that they got as well. That's something I know you've heard forever, and we've talked about it up here, because North Dakota State or South Dakota State has gone in the Twin Cities and got high-profile Twin Cities players. Now PJ's coming up here and getting the best players up here to come to Minnesota.
Yeah, I think you're 100% right. That's what's been different. They've the outstate kids that usually would be slam dunk for the Dakota schools, right? How many have you had over the years where you go, how come no one found this guy? Yeah. Well, he's from Barnesville and nobody knew to go there. Like that's not like there is a little bit more of that. Coy obviously being from basically a suburb of Duluth is a deal. Isaac Osama, same deal, the basketball player from Cherry, Minnesota. That kid might be going to St. Cloud State 15 years ago just because there wasn't the exposure, there wasn't the film, there wasn't the ability to get there. And, he's done a good job. But he makes a good point. Like, just the fact that he's been here 9 years now, this is like, kids that they were 9 years old when he started. Like, they don't know really a world. They don't have all the scars that generations of Gopher fans have, right? They probably don't remember Marcus Williams in a pick six right before halftime at TCF Bank Stadium. They weren't there for that game, right? But they were there for Penn State 2019. And that matters. Like, that makes a difference. Or they at least, even Drake Lindsay talked about that Penn State game, that season was one of the first seasons he really dialed into Gopher football. So, and it's not like they've, you see behind me, I don't have a Rose Bowl banner here. I have an Outback Bowl banner. It's not like they've been going to Rose Bowls and winning national championships, but they've had enough success where it's not the perception, I think, has changed locally for the kids that are now going through, that it is, you can go there. It's a cool place to go, and you can actually make an impact. And having a guy like Coy obviously helps big time in that, because there's 50 people, there's 50 legitimate ESCO people wearing Parrots jerseys every game that he plays. That makes a difference.
Or, like, we were there a couple years ago when they beat Nebraska to start the season, or last year to win in Madison. Those are the kind of memories now that he's trying to tap into for the high school guys.
Well, I would say I have a lot of family in Wisconsin, and my youngest cousin is probably like 25 years old. Until PJ got here, he did not know a world where the Badgers did not have the axe. Like, that was stunning to him that the axe could actually come to Minnesota. And so, but you're right. And obviously they've got more work to do with the Iowa rivalry, because they've only won. That one's kind of become the new Wisconsin, where they got him a couple of years ago. We all know about that game, but like, they've done a good job of just kind of getting the program on really solid ground, and now it's just in a good, solid spot where, people think an 8-4 season is something to be disappointed about. So we'll see how it goes.
There's a couple North Dakota guys that actually may be in the mix to play. Carter Menz, the defensive end, and Riley Sunram up front from Kindred, one's from West Fargo. I know your practice availability is limited, JG, but are these guys that potentially that they could find their way into the rotation maybe early on in the non-conference season for Minnesota?
Yeah, let me pull up my depth chart here. You see, I'm going through. I've got a lot of different names. The nice thing is, especially along the lines, there's a lot of opportunity for. There's a lot of questions and a lot of opportunity and a lot of different depth things. So I know this, that they love recruiting the Dakotas. Like they because why wouldn't they? There's a lot of good players there, and they're a developmental type program, right? So you mentioned those guys have been around for a little bit. I don't know specifically like what the plans are there. like I said, I just went through the depth chart, and I'm actually reading Ryan Burns' stuff because he's the one that actually
Burns is the guy. Yeah.
Yeah. Give me like 10 days, and I'll have a better idea for you.
That's okay.
Once the game starts, but like there's a reason those guys are here. You know what I mean? Like they didn't recruit them to come down here and not play. So I know, especially on the lines, like everybody's going to have an opportunity.
When you look, you mentioned 8-4 would be, it would be unsatisfactory with this kind of schedule, though. I mean, I know he's going to ask you between now and next Thursday what to predict for the season. What are your reasonable expectations for what could happen in 2025?
Oh, what's interesting is obviously you've got Oregon and Ohio State on the road,
right.
Okay? Which in a way is kind of a better deal because you go, all right, take your chances. Like, of course you want to have them at home, but those are two of the top 5 teams in the country. The home schedule, they have the ability to have a really good home season. In fact, I know you're talking Nebraska after me. That one is going to be an interesting game.
Yep.
It's a Friday night, mid-October. Nebraska, in all honesty, could be undefeated when they come here. If they are as good as, and we always joke the easiest bet in the world is in the much too early preseason top 25 every year, Nebraska's going to be in there, right? Like they're just going to be in there somewhere. But if they're, and I love Matt Rule, by the way, I think he's a total stud. And if he can't do it in Nebraska, I don't know if anybody can at this point. That game to me, there's like 3 or 4 of those type of games that's going to determine which way the schedule goes. It's like the Nebraskas, the Michigan States, the Iowas, the Wisconsins. Off the top of my head, I can't remember who else they have. That would be the Rutgers, but they get a lot of those games at home. So I mean, if you're really glass full, half full, you could say they could go undefeated at home because they don't have a huge blue blood coming in. But that Nebraska game is going to be interesting because the Gophers theoretically should maybe at worst have 1 or 2 losses at that point. Like I said, Nebraska I think could be undefeated at that point with their schedule up to that point. Yeah. So I kind of said it like, the over-under 6.5 most places. I think one place has it 7.5. I think that's about fair. And the recalibration of the new world in the Big Ten, like 8-4 is the new 10-2, honestly. Yeah. Because every year, and I think people are having a tough time adjusting to that, not just here but everywhere. I don't think you're going to see teams run through undefeated anymore. And when you think about you're starting most years with you've already got Ohio State and Oregon, just that. Okay, those are 2 tough games. So you're probably going to stub your toe a couple of other places, even if you have a good team. So I've kind of settled in at like a 7-5, 8-4. And if things really go right for them, 9-3. But that includes a victory at Kinnick, which is a tough place to play, and all of those things. So I don't know. That didn't really answer your question.
Okay.
But I do know that every team now, there aren't any like bad teams because of revenue sharing and NIL. There's very few games that you just go, like last year, Rutgers should have been one of those for the Gophers, right? After they beat USC and UCLA. Let's go to Rutgers. They're terrible. Well, they didn't play well that day, and they lost. Yep. And then Rutgers went on to a nice little run at the end of the year to make a bowl game. So that's where every game is, they had 7 one-possession games a year ago. I expect the same thing this year.
2 last things for you. The hot topic in high school football around here is Moorhead has moved up. You, as an Edina guy, do any of the city schools know what's past St. Cloud? Because they have to come up here this upcoming fall.
Football might not. Hockey people know. Hockey people like coming to Fargo Moorhead. They like going to Duluth
hockey
and
does,
Hermantown.
Yes.
Yeah, hockey knows. Football maybe not as much. I love the Moorhead deal. Obviously, the hockey thing was awesome. We probably talked about that. But you know what I love about it, Dom? Like all those kids play lacrosse. A lot of those kids play football. Yep. And the Minnesota Star Tribune, that's what we call it now, not the Minneapolis Star Tribune. The Minnesota Star Tribune has written a lot about that. Yeah. I've read a lot about that. And as a dad who's trying to shepherd children through the craziness of youth sports. I just jumped ahead 10 years. I love the Spud story that you can do all of it. And by the way, be really, really good. So I definitely am aware of it. Not just because my wife went to Concordia, but I'm aware of it. And I love the fact that they have all those multi-sport athletes because it shows there's a path.
Yep.
You can do it. So I'm pulling for the Spuds.
Last thing, email is to ask JG if he got any mayo on him at the Mayo Bowl last year. I don't know this answer, so I have to ask you, how was your experience with that?
Mine was great. I got none. My problem that night was I didn't – speaking of rookie move, you talked about that before. I didn't anticipate it being like 42 degrees and cold in Charlotte, North Carolina. So I was not dressed properly for a night game. It was very cold. And I've been in like sub-zero games where I felt great. But I didn't think I needed to bring my heated vest to Charlotte. I did. I will say the smell of what happened after PJ got dunked with the mayonnaise, that's what stays with you. Like, that's what I think a lot of people, I certainly underestimated, that you can't escape the smell if you're anywhere near the head coach at that point. And I just remember him walking in the tunnel, going back to the locker room, having just wiped off from his bald head all the mayonnaise, and it's all over him. And this, like, the look on his face was, I need to shower as quickly as I possibly can.
JG, this was awesome, man. I know you're super busy. Thanks so much for doing this. We'll catch up during the season, okay?
Anytime. Good talking with you.
Good to see you, bud. There he goes, Justin Gaard from KFAN Radio down in the Twin Cities. Sideline reporter for Minnesota Golden Gopher football. You'll hear him a week from tomorrow when the Gophers open up with Buffalo. We're over to for a break. We'll get caught up on a couple things here. Sean Callahan from Husker Online going to join us in about 15 minutes. Give us the lowdown on West Fargo's Cade Pedshock playing for the Huskers. Coming up, we come back. Welcome back, everybody. Good stuff there with JG. That was awesome. Ran the gamut there on a bunch of different topics. Yeah, that schedule, Eric, if you have a second, we can throw that up again here as we wait for Sean. We're going to break before we get to Sean Callahan. You could roll your eyes at the Gopher non-conference. It is what it is. This is what Power 5 teams are going to do going forward. I mean, the Power 4 game with Cal, remember Cal's an ACC school, is the headline one there. On top of the fact that you're going to play it at 9:30 at night Central Time. What time did we play at Arizona? Was that 10? Was that 10 o'clock Central kickoff? It was 10 o'clock. Gosh, that was late. Rutgers is the Big Ten opener. The Ohio State, Oregon are going to be Iowa. That's really hard. I think he's dead on. I think we talked about this upstairs. That Husker Gopher game on a Friday night, middle of October, 7 o'clock on Fox, could be season-defining for each of those teams when we get to it. The Wrigley Field game at the end will be tremendous. And then, of course, end the season with the Badgers. To get 7 out of that's going to be really, really tough. Just you look at it here. You got to run the table, I think, in the non-conference. Probably beat Rutgers. So if you're 4-0 there, probably lose at Ohio State. Purdue is bad. You got to win there. 5-1. Huskers is a toss-up. We'll make our people upstairs happy. Say Nebraska gets that 5-2. Iowa 5-3. Beat Michigan State 6-3. Lose at Oregon 6-4. You got to beat Northwestern 7-4. And then the Badgers, we don't know how good Wisconsin's going to be this year. You could get 8. Could be 7, could be 6, depending if a couple of those swing games don't go their way like it happened a year ago. It'll be fascinating to see how it plays out, but that's what the Gophers have on tap for them in 2025. It all begins a week from tomorrow. We'll break. We come back. We'll get our Nebraska update. Sean Callahan will join us from Husker Online to give us the lowdown on what they have coming up in 2025, including a West Fargo Cheyenne true freshman that could be on the field for them as early as next week. That's coming up. We come back. Welcome back, everybody. Our Big Ten hour rolls on. We chatted some Gophers in the first half hour. We're going to wrap it. We'll talk some Nebraska Cornhusker football. We got plenty of Husker fans at our building that are all perking up now, especially for our next guest who is so plugged in. Been doing this forever and is a great resource to talk on the Huskers, the state of Nebraska football, high school football as well, because there's a couple more studs that are coming up from especially the Omaha area to come up and play at North Dakota State. Sean Callahan joins us from Husker Online on this Wednesday, a week out from the Husker opener on national TV with Cincinnati. Sean sent me a message earlier this week saying, hey, guy in your area might be playing right away, and it was a full stop because Cade Pedshock is a true freshman, but Sean, he might be playing like next week for Nebraska?
Yeah, and what's crazy is most of these freshmen get here in January. Cade was one of like 7 that didn't, so 13 of the 20 got here early. He was one of the 7 that came in June. And so for him as a lineman to be ready, first of all, he's kind of walking in to Nebraska at a unique time. Nash Hutmacher graduated.
Yep.
He's in the NFL. Ty Robinson's with the Eagles. And then Jamari Butler went to LSU. So their 3 top guys moved on. So they're moving up a group of players to play more. And there's opportunity in kind of the back of the 2 deep. And that's probably where he falls. You know, you might see him play 10 snaps in Arrowhead, if not more. I mean, I think they've been really impressed with him and his motor, and they know that he's going to be a good player here down the road.
I watched John Butler, the defensive coordinator, his press conference, and that's what you alerted me to it on Monday. What have you seen, or what did he see that stood out to say is athleticism, just his ability to pick up things, or just, hey, go get the quarterback that stood out?
Yeah, just his quickness and natural feel. You know, we were able to watch an open practice for the whole time a couple Saturdays ago, and you know, he immediately when the twos came out there, you kind of notice him like, God, Pedshaw's pretty good. Like you notice him, and that's not easy to do at any program as a freshman lineman. And you know, I think again, he's kind of walked into a great time at Nebraska because of the graduation. That there is some opportunity maybe at that like back of the 2 deep, and you know and then could he grow himself to the front of the 2 deep is probably the question. I don't know if he'll be a starter this year. I wouldn't think, but I do think, you know, 10 snaps a game, if he's playing well, could turn into 20 snaps a game. I mean, by the time the year's over.
How rare is it in your time covering Husker football for a true freshman defensive lineman to play?
Extremely rare. You know, the 4-game redshirt rule has changed that a lot. But, you know, even just playing a game as a lineman in general, it's hard to do. And I just think it's kind of timed out right, and that's probably what's helped this too. But I've had people tell me he would play for a lot of people. You know, not anywhere. I mean, he's that good. That's why Oklahoma went up there. And there's only been 2 notable North Dakota natives recently, and they've both been pretty good at Nebraska. Brent Qualley, NFL lineman out of Williston, and you talk about a guy that was way off the radar when Nebraska recruited him. He had no offers. Other than FCS at that point, and ended up being a multi-year NFL lineman.
Yeah, that just was a full stop when you were messaging me the other day. I'm like, all right, this is big time news, and I really appreciate you coming on and chatting about it. Here we are. We're a week out. The opener is a week from tomorrow in Arrowhead, as you mentioned, in Kansas City. I know buzz is high. Describe the anticipation for a new Husker football season.
Yeah, it is. I mean, for Nebraska to get this game in Arrowhead, what a break. It was going to be at Cincinnati's home game, but they already have 7 home games, so this was their 8th home game, and they're trying to create a way to make more revenue for NIL. So they were going to move the game to Indianapolis, and that's initially where it was going to be played. And they were going to get about $2 million guaranteed to go to Indy. The Arrowhead organizers said, "Hey, we'll give you 4 to play the game in Arrowhead, and 4 with a chance to be more, because if Nebraska fans sell it out, you'll get more than 4." Well, it's really close to a sellout right now. It's over 70,000 tickets sold. It's 76,000 capacity. So I think by kickoff, it's going to be pretty much a sellout, if not all the way sold out. And, you know, for Nebraska fans, they have not had a game on the road of this proximity in 15 years. Iowa City has been the closest road trip, and it's Black Friday. So it's kind of hard to get to Iowa on Black Friday with your Thanksgiving. You know, when you play that game at 11 o'clock a lot of years, it's hard to get up on Friday after Thanksgiving and want to make the drive. This is going to be different. I mean, there ain't going to be anybody working in Nebraska on Thursday or Friday because, you know, like my wife's a teacher, and the school districts have already put blackout dates. The teachers can't take those days off.
That's hysterical.
They know what's going on. And I'm sure Fargo would be the same way if the Bison were playing. But, yeah, you're going to get 70,000, 75,000 fans, and 90+% is going to be red in the loudest stadium in the NFL.
The anticipation for this after what Matt Rule did last year, can you put your arms around what 2025 with Raiola back, what's a successful season in your mind for the Huskers this year?
Yeah, I think success is at least 8+ wins. You know, in the Big Ten, it's so hard because you don't know who's going to be this year's Indiana or this year's Illinois. And Nebraska played both those teams last year. And at this very time a year ago, I don't think anyone anticipated them to be ranked top-level teams. So you don't know what the Big Ten will bring, especially in this portal era. But what I do know is Dana Holgorsen has really taken a lot off the plate of Matt Rule as the offensive coordinator. and it allows Matt Rule to be more just the head coach. And then John Butler, was on staff, and he was a defensive coordinator. He was the Buffalo Bills secondary coach. He used to be Bill O'Brien's defensive coordinator at one point too. So he's running the show, but right next to him is Matt Rule's former longtime coordinator, a guy named Phil Snow. So I think the coordinators around Rule are far and away the best he's had, on top of the new special teams guy they brought in, Mike Eckler. He was Tennessee's coordinator. He's a Nebraska native, only left Tennessee because he wanted to be back around his family. His parents are getting older. So they've upgraded the key coordinator spots, and they went all in on NIL to bring in some key free agent additions from the portal, which that's the game now. How many guys can you retain? But then when you play the free agent market, how many of those top-level pieces can you acquire? And Nebraska had a very, very good NIL offseason as far as bringing in those top transfers.
I want to go to that because obviously Marty Brown's name was readily apparent when he went in the portal, being an Omaha kid. And to your knowledge, your reporting, how close were the Huskers in getting him from NDSU to go to Nebraska?
Well, I think if they would have pushed right off the bat, he probably would have come. But the market opened, and then a lot more teams got involved.
Yeah.
And Nebraska was involved then. They brought him on campus. But I think it becomes a thing where how much money do you want to spend on your running back room when you've already committed a lot to Emmett Johnson, and they moved Isaiah Mosey to running back, and he's going to play as a true freshman. They love him. And then Mekhi Nelson is a redshirt freshman. So they like the room. There's no doubt Brown would have helped Nebraska, but at what price?
Yeah.
And I think they had to make that decision. And Miami definitely used a lot of what they term probably as front-loading money to pay an additional amount. And Miami, the thing is that there's going to be 3 running backs there.
Right.
2 of their top 3 return, and they lost one of those top 3 a year ago. Brown will kind of insert in there, and they like to play like 3 backs that get like 8 to 12 carries each. So like that will be kind of his role in that Hurricane offense. I don't see him being like a, and at Nebraska it probably would have been 10 to 12 carries still too, because Emmett Johnson probably is your top back right now for sure.
The level of high school players down there always staggers me, just of what and NDSU is flirting. I know they offer guys just to get in there, and sometimes they come here, but I look at Jackson Williams' younger brother. I mean, he's going to go play at Iowa State. You cover this all the time. How legit is NDSU in some of these battles? Like we only see maybe, Sean, the offers. You cover it. Like for some of those guys that the Bison are flirting with, are they being considered, or is it, hey, they offered, and once the bigger schools come in, that's where it's going to go?
I will say the competition for them now has ramped up more than ever before, because you have Fresno State and Washington State. They're recruiting Nebraska like those guys are still at North Dakota State and South Dakota State. Like those 2 programs were heavily in Nebraska this year. And then you have Dan Jackson back at South Dakota State. And then you have, those 3 are the ones that will primarily battle it out with the Bison. I didn't see Wyoming over here like I used to this year. They just weren't in here as much as far as kids like visiting there and looking at them. But yeah, I think it's safe to say North Dakota State's always going to get 1, maybe 2 Nebraska kids per year. And with the elimination of essentially walk-ons at Nebraska, that's where Iowa State has come in. Iowa State doesn't have a deep NIL budget, so Iowa State's got like 7 Nebraska commits, which is wild. That is the most ever any Power 4 team has ever taken out of Nebraska in a year, which I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Because for a lot of those guys, Iowa State was their only Power 4 offer. But for them, these are minimum wage roster additions. You don't have to give them rev share and whatnot. So I think when you're in the Big 12, it's a little bit different game right now than the Big 10 as far as the type of player you have to recruit, because of the way the money and the NIL and the rev share has shifted the game.
Last thing for you, I want to end where we started. You're talking about a freshman defensive lineman plan. That could happen in the issue with Elijah Wayne out of Omaha. You saw him. The fact he's come in, and again, I can't remember a true freshman playing on the defensive line for North Dakota State. I've covered the team for almost 20 years. How special of a player was he, and can he be at the next level?
Yeah, he was on, in terms of D1 talent, his high school team had like 6 guys that were D1. Torrey Pittman, who's the 5-star for next year. the running back last year is a junior to be now, and he's got Wisconsin and Nebraska offers Callahan Haney. But yeah, that tandem of Elijah Wayne and then Ike Ackerman, they were excellent edge players, and Ackerman would have been an outstanding Bison with him, but he ended up going to Ohio U. But Elijah Wayne, yeah, just a all-around guy with great upside. I don't think he's been anywhere close to his overall tapped-out potential. And I think that's got to be exciting for that coaching staff there. And now the challenge is when you get a freshman that plays that well, you got to keep him.
I know it. Yeah.
I mean, I forgot what the stat I just read was, but the number of smaller conference, all conference level players that have left to go to Power 4, it's remarkable. Yeah. And it's almost like the FCS leagues need to eliminate the all conference teams because you're just basically giving the big
that
boys.
Right, exactly.
Hey, we're not going to do an all conference team anymore because we're tired of you guys taking all our players. You can figure out who's good.
So no more preseason polls, and now no more all conference lists at FCS is probably the way to go. I know you got to roll, bud. Thanks so much for giving us the upside, and we'll check in during the season, okay?
Yeah, Dom, thank you, and looking forward to the opener Arrowhead and following the Bison if they can get a repeat this year.
Thanks, bud. Sean Callahan, Husker Online. Read his stuff. It's fantastic, and he's got something on Cape Pet Shock now. West Fargo Cheyenne Zone. Might be seeing him on the field next Thursday night when the Huskers open against Cincinnati. We'll break. We come back. We'll wrap things up. Get you ready. We got a busy Sports Wednesday on tap and tell you about a couple of fun guests we got on the show tomorrow. We'll do that when Hot Mike wraps right after this. All right, another action-packed show in the books here. Tomorrow, just got this confirmed as well. Really excited about this. Tomorrow morning, well, a couple more football coaches join us. One you may have heard of, the former North Dakota State head football coach, the current head coach at Fresno State University, Matt Entz, will join us tomorrow at 9:30. So set your watches for that. Also, because they play, Fresno plays in week 0 against Kansas. So we'll preview that. Going to Lawrence. Is their stadium done now? Is that all done? I know you're the Jayhawk Rube here. Okay, it's all completed. So that's debuting. I think that's on Fox on Saturday night. And then Mercer head football coach Mike Jacobs will join us tomorrow at about 10:15 to look ahead to the Bears opener, the FCS kickoff against UC Davis. May or may not bring up the fact the last 2 years they've had their season ended either by South Dakota State or North Dakota State. We may try and stay away from that, but that's coming up on the show tomorrow. So looking forward to that. So make sure you join us like everybody does each and every day between 9 and 11 for that kind of guest. Corey Provost will join us on Friday, give us the Twins update as they head to Chicago after a couple more games with the A's. Full disclosure, heads up for shameless self-promotion. You can check out Inforum.com now for a couple stories. If you missed our Bison football preview, you can go back and watch that. Part 1 aired Sunday night. Our second one is coming up this coming Sunday. So if you missed that, some pretty good stuff there with Sam and myself. You can read the story on the Bison game in Vegas. They scheduled another game yesterday for 2026 and 2028. The 26 game is at Incarnate Word. The Word will come back in 28. And if you're thinking, well, wait a minute, they already had 11 games. Remember now, FCS teams can play 12, and the Bison will do that. So Polasek literally scooped this whole thing. He told me about it when he was here right before spring ball, that we're starting to plan that we're going to be in fall camp on July 23rd. And when he said it, I heard, like, did you say that right? And that's why. So when I really say next year that summer is over after the 4th of July, that means fall camp is literally 10 days away. So that's when India should be back next year. But because the football game is August 29th, I want to say, when they play at the Word. All those stories available now at Inforum.com. Let's do some What to Watch before we get out of here. All All right, we got Twins baseball tonight against the A's. That's all I can say about it. 6:30 on Twins TV from Target Field. This is pretty cool. The U.S. Open mixed doubles, really neat deal for tennis. The official tournament begins on Monday, but this has been pretty cool to watch. 6 o'clock tonight on ESPN2. And again, the Little League World Series coverage begins at noon. The Sioux Falls team plays at 6 o'clock tonight on ESPN. Again, they got to win that to keep their season going. All right, thanks to Drew Trafton, to Andy DeLaBarre, to Justin Gaard, and Sean Callahan. If you missed any of the show, you can podcast it later today at Inforum.com. You can watch a full replay on WDAY+. Hope everybody has a great Wednesday. Thanks so much for giving us part of your day. We'll see you back here tomorrow on Hot Mic on WDAY Extra, KSFL, KMBN, and Inforum.com.